What is up, y'all? Welcome to another video by the Football Physios where we cover everything in the world of soccer fitness and rehab. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for every update. Now, we have a very special video for you today. Gabriel Jesus had to have knee surgery after leaving the Brazilian national team during their World Cup match versus Cameroon. Now, Arsenal actually put out a statement about the surgery, and it reads as the following. Gabriel Jesus has successfully undergone surgery to his right knee after suffering an injury during the Brazil v Cameroon World Cup group stage match on Friday. Gabby will now begin his rehab program. Everyone at the club is supporting Gabby and will be working hard to get him back onto the pitch as soon as possible. Now, I'm always thankful that clubs kind of recognize what kind of injuries they have, but the one thing that stuck out to me the most is there isn't really much detail in this report. There isn't any sort of timeline. There isn't sort of any insight as to what structures were actually injured and what he had the surgery on. So that is what we're going to explore today. Now, of course, nothing has officially been said by the club, but what we will do is go by structure and see exactly the possibilities of what Gabby might be going through right now. Let's go from least likely to most likely. So there's a lot of structures that may have been involved in this injury. There's one structure, the patella tendon, which is very unlikely. Although it is a common spot for soccer players to have pain in, it is very unlikely that surgery was an option for this type of injury. In addition, if you have any damage to the MCL, even if it's completely torn, it is very much an injury that you can recover from without surgery. This is because the MCL has a great blood supply and all those nutrients can go straight back into the ligament and it can heal almost on its own. Now, the other three ligaments of the knee, that's not really the case for. But if this was a PCL, ACL, or LCL type injury, it's very likely that Gabi would be out for multiple months at a time, minimum of 6, probably closer to 12 months, depending on the structure that's injured. And the club likely would have just said that in their statement. But it was actually reported by the Telegraph that Gabi had an injury to his MCL, which may not be entirely false. We'll get to that later. Now, the one region of the knee where I think he may have issues is his meniscus. Now, the meniscus is a piece of cartilage that sits between your thigh bone and your shin bone, and it absorbs a lot of shock in the knee. As soccer players get older, it's relatively common to have some sort of damage to these structures, which is pretty normal for the aging process. But if you do have damage in an acute mechanism that is affecting your ability to play on the field, being running, cutting, jumping, sprinting, surgery may be necessary to clean up or remove parts of the meniscus that are injured. And you can see a great example of what that procedure may look like right here. And the one thing to note is that these types of surgeries have a very variable timeline. Depending on the location of the injury within the meniscus, it could be anywhere from 3 weeks to 8, maybe even 12 weeks to fully return to the field. That does fall in line with the reasoning why we haven't seen a direct timeline in terms of when Gabi Jesus will be back to the field. In addition, this is very much in line with the previously reported injury by the Telegraph, which had an injury to his MCL. Although these two are very different structures, they are injured often by the same mechanism, which we're about to go through. So this is the front of the knee with the thigh bone being removed. And if we look at it from the top down, you can see these meniscus structures right here and right here. And these is what's responsible for absorbing the shock as it comes through the knee. Now, how is that injured at the same time as the MCL, which is this piece of tissue right here? Now, if you look at it from the front, you'll be able to see that these two pieces of tissue will actually interact depending on the mechanism of injury. So if we go ahead and look at our knee here, our thigh bone would actually be pictured right here as it goes up. Sorry, I'm a terrible drawer. That would attach here, that would attach here. Now, what happens if we have what is called a valgus force to the knee? Our thigh bone, instead of being straight up and down, actually moves out to the side. And what you get is instead of being right here, it actually goes right there. Now, that causes stress in two regions of the knee. One being the MCL here, because you can imagine if there's a bone with a force coming this way, this piece of tissue right here in green is going to be compromised because it's going to be stressed. Now, in addition, you also have a force that's coming straight down right here. And again, this structure right here in the knee, which I'm about to circle in yellow, is our meniscus. So if you have your blue kind of thigh bone here putting force this way and this way, you're going to get stress in the MCL, which is right here, as well as the meniscus, which is right here. Now, again, do we know if this is the truth? No, but it all makes sense as to why we're hearing reports of an MCL, why he had to have a surgery, and why his recovery timeline really wasn't reported when Arsenal, as a club, have a pretty good historical database of when they report injuries and what they are. As I said, this could be anywhere from 3 weeks all the way up through 12 weeks, depending, again, on the amount of damage that was done to the meniscus as well as the MCL, if in fact those are the structures that were indeed injured. But I want to know from you guys, who should Arsenal, if anybody, sign to replace Gabriel Jesus while he is out with this injury? In my opinion, I think it should be Marco Asensio. He's great as a false nine. He can also play on the wing, and I think it would give Arsenal much needed depth in both of those areas. But I hope you guys enjoy this video. Again, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace and love.